there's plenty of people out there who don't have ACLs who do jiu-jitsu very well. This is what I'd say. If you lack the structures that hold your knee together, you need to reinforce the other structures. So are your knees strong? Are they stable? If you have really strong, tight knees, so to speak, that means you're less likely to endure other problems. But not having an ACL means the joint is less stable. And also, if you've got a torn meniscus, depending on how badly, that can mean you've got pain there. This is what I'd say, and this speaks to every other kind of injury. If you roll with injury, this is the major concern for me if I was your coach. You're going to do something to avoid putting weight on that leg, or you're going to modify your game so that you can keep rolling, which will result in a different injury. And by compensating, you've actually double yourself. So, and I've seen that before where someone hurt their wrist or their elbow. So they're like, oh, I'll just put my hand in my belt. Got swept, fell on their neck and herniated 2 discs in their neck. It's the compensation. It's not, I would say, simple answer, no, don't do that. Get your rehab, maybe get your surgery. If you can't get your surgery, you should be working on making the joint more stable. But the problem is you will develop compensatory movement patterns, and this can result in other issues.
Yep. Look, I had this exact scenario when I ruptured my ACL. I also damaged the meniscus, and I had pre-existing meniscus damage from many years prior. When I had the scans done and the full picture of the knee condition was available, my physiotherapist and the surgeon that I spoke to both agreed. They said, look, your knee's really stable. When we test it, like athletically and doing the physical test, feels great. If we didn't have the imagery, we'd probably say that you'd be fine to just continue without an ACL. But we know that in the absence of an ACL, there's a certain aspect of your meniscus that will have to work harder now. And that is where you have your pre-existing meniscus damage. So they said more than likely what's going to happen is that area which is already damaged is just going to continue to degrade over the years. And then you're going to be back in the surgeon's office in a couple of years' time with a really knee. So I took that advice and I went and got the surgery done and whatnot. So for me, that was a decision based on that information that I was like, it's worthwhile doing. However, my knee did feel great prior to the surgery. And there is a case that, yeah, some people get by just fine without an ACL. So while there is a risk, it's an option, yes, right? And you don't have to deal with the trauma of surgery and all those things. What I would suggest you check out, and it depends on how long ago you ruptured it, is check out the work of Tom Cross, who is an Australian, I think he's a physiotherapist who has come up with a non-surgical approach to ACL reattachment. Wow. And it's called a bracing protocol, and they brace your knee at 90 degrees. And not 100% of the time, but I believe the vast majority of the couple hundred people who have been through his protocol have actually had their ACLs grow back together.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they don't always grow back perfectly. Sometimes it's like a partial reattachment. Sometimes they just grow off into different ends and like reattach back to the knee. But it's 3 months. You go and see him. It like costs you a couple $100, and it's like maybe you got an ACL at the end of the 12 weeks.
Whoa, that's a good bet.
Yeah, so I would definitely do that. And if it doesn't work, then you can still get the surgery.
Yeah,
that would be my hot take.
Nice.
But hey, I guess you got to say, like, to kind of wrapping it up, but there's certain people whereby, like Cyborg, I'm aware that Cyborg had a no ACL for a period, right? But if you're an elite athlete and now is your time, then yeah, you probably don't want to give up 2 years for the surgery and all that shit.
Yeah.
So if you're at that stage and like you're in the fire right now, man, there's a case for just staying in the fire. However, chances are you're not. Chances are you're a regular human and you want to be able to do this thing for a long time and have good health for a long time. So, be mindful of your context.